What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? You are on the sidelines with the Sideline guys. And today, I am joined by a very special guest, a man who has been on the show many times before, right? So at this point, I don't want no first time jitters. I need confidence spewing from this man. Uh, my guy, my brother in arms. I'm gonna leave your Discord names out of this. We got my guy Logic pulling up to do an NBA edition of the Sideline Guys cast. How you feeling, Logic?
I'm feeling good. It's great to be back. It's been a while. I'm always trying to get back, but this guy, he just has other plans, I guess.
Oh, flip the switch, right? It's always on me. So good to know. Yeah, I got shooters on the bench ready. I just gotta deploy them a little earlier in the second quarter. It looks like, but really
Exactly. Yeah.
excited. Really excited to have you back on the show, and of course to be talking hoops with you and your mega mind. I mean, your brilliant mind. But most importantly, I think it's important right off the top that we lay our biases out there. So, Logic, you've been on the show before. I don't think I've got to ask you this though. So, why don't you tell the people across all different sports that you watch, what are your sports teams? Where do your alliances lie?
Well, I know I answered this the first time I was on, but I know it's been a while since then. So, I grew up a Cowboys fan living in the Dallas area. Uh, about 14 years ago, actually, it'll be 14 as of the next NFL season. I stopped being a Cowboys fan because I was tired of Jerry Jones. I was tired of the mediocrity. And I became fully convinced that he's going to die in his booth with a camera on him during a game. You can't convince me otherwise. And I decided to find a new team, and that's when I found the Bengals because they were interesting to watch and they hadn't won a Super Bowl yet. Um, and then for the NBA, they're the only Dallas team I really support, which is the Mavs. I've loved the Mavs ever since I was a kid growing up, and that was back when everybody in my second grade class was like, "Who are you a fan of?" And all of them were Spurs fans because the Spurs dynasty was the thing then. It was like Tim Duncan, and all of them, all those boys, Manu and Tony Parker, early 2000s. And then I was like, I like Dirk. He looks cool. He had a funny picture with the frosted tips, oh, 90s classic. And then hockey, I don't really watch a lot of hockey. I dabble in hockey a little bit from time to time. Like I'll play the NHL games and I'll pick whatever team looks cool. MLB, I'm a huge Rangers fan. Shout out to them. They're looking pretty good right now. We got to get more consistent though in some areas of the pitching rotation and whatnot, and injuries as well. But early in the season for that.
Yeah, for sure. Everything's rounding out. I love it. I love that you're a Rangers fan with a Yankees pennant behind your head. So, can you tell us the
Oh,
story about how you got this pennant as well?
so that the funny thing is, so in my when I went to middle school, the principal there was a real nice guy. It was his last year, and I was he was there the entire time I was there. I never got in trouble or anything, and I just went up to his office one day and I saw it, and I'm like, "Can I have that pennant?" Because I was a huge A Rod fan as a kid. That was before I like had a team in baseball. Like I was more of a player person, a kid at the time. And he's like, "Yeah, sure. Why do you want it?" I'm like, "Because I'm a huge A Rod fan," and he just gave it to me. He actually
Nice.
had two, but he only let me have that one. So,
Yeah, I hope so. Shit, you got to keep one for the fam. God damn it. But
well, the other one was the World Series pennant. I'm like, "Yeah, he's not letting me have that one." So,
yeah, exactly. You got the cheap one, but it's okay. I love
yeah.
that you're representing New York nonetheless, despite people in your region hating my New York Yankees. I love that we're representing here on the main wall. But with all the pleasantries out the way, I got to ask you, Logic, is there a social media you would like me to direct people to? Or are we
Uh,
still leaving that anonymous?
so I have a YouTube channel,
Mhm.
and I don't really do anything else because I tend to keep to myself. I also have Discord. My YouTube channel is, I believe it's still the same. Let me just double check because I always get it because my YouTube and my other stuff is kind of mixed. It's Logical Gaming with two L's at the end of the logical. I just mostly do game content on there. I plan on doing more sports game content later on. I have a video coming out later this week on a game as well, and I have some huge stuff planned over there. So
Yes, sir. Make sure you're subscribed to him there as well. Give him a subscribe. Give him the goddamn notification bell so that every time he uploads, you can see his stuff. And make sure you're doing the same with OTS Media. You could find us at OTS Media Co. on all social media platforms, OTS Media on YouTube, so you can continue to get these awesome shows sent straight to you. And also make sure that you're following the Sideline guys on whatever different audio platform you may use, so you can get all these podcasts sent straight to your phone. But with all that being said, before we jump into the feature presentation for today, why don't you guys show me some love? Throw me a follow on Twitter and TikTok over at Negron MMA, and I'll be very happy. But with all that, let's jump right into it. We're here for some basketball, god damn it. So let's keep it on that note. As he mentioned, he's a Mavericks fan. I am an OKC fan. So bias aside, we're going to be trying to provide you with our best recap of the season and handing out all of our awards. So it's only right that we start with the granddaddy of them all, the one that I'm sure everyone is going to be talking about for the next week. We've got the MVP race, right? We got the big award right off the top. It's only right that we let our guests go first. So, Logic, who is your MVP for this season and why?
Well, I mean, I'm going to say Luca because his numbers are the best in the league. He's had the best, like he's improving every year. This is his best year by far. He's shooting insane. He's shooting his best from 3 point line. He's shooting better than Shea and Jokic from three. He's only not shooting better than Shea from the field and from the free throw line. However, he's also first in scoring. He's also second in assists, by the way. Jokic is third. So that's huge. He's also top 10 in rebounding, I believe. Um, and Jokic is top 10 or 12. And then Shea is 19th in rebounding. So in those major statistical categories, Luka beats all of them. And the only reason he won't get the MVP, because I know he's not getting the MVP, but he should get MVP, is because he's not a top seed. But other than that, he'll get it next year for sure. With how they were playing post
Honestly,
trade deadline.
yeah, I was gonna say I love how this all shakes out, right? Because we're both just gonna look like fucking homers, right? We're both gonna be making our homer pick for MVP. But I think these are both legitimate MVP cases, in my opinion. I think Luca's numbers speaks for themselves. What you guys been able to accomplish already, setting yourself up, obviously not having to deal with the playing at all, and just waiting out for that sixth seed. So you're in a good spot, right? You're in a good spot as far as compared to last couple of years. So I don't mind the Luca shout. Mine obviously is Shea Gilgis Alexander. Very easy, very simple to see coming, right? This is obvious. But for both of us, I kind of hate it. But obviously, getting the number one seed is huge for me. And the reason why I'm sort of doubling down on this, I think in a year where not I mean, more was expected, right? But not this much. And to be able to come back so strongly with Chet making his debut on this team and sort of meshing his way into the rotation throughout the season, and a lot of our core guys really growing as the season went on and being able to be accountable for one another as the season went on. I think what Shea's been able to do obviously speaks for himself. I think the biggest part of Shea's game that gets under credited, in my opinion, is his defense and his ability to be an anchor on defense for us. I know your face, right? You got jokes for me, right? I think
No, I just
genuinely,
I don't. I don't. I've been praising his defense to you the entire season, pretty much all the time. Like
yeah.
he's so good at defense.
And compared to most other stars too, he's just so much more willing, right? And I think that's a big key for that side of the ball, right? I think even if you're doing this is going to sound stupid, but if you're playing defense bad but your effort is there, that's a lot better than just not caring and trying to do things all the correct way, right? So I think ultimately the defensive contributions matched with obviously the pure offensive talent that he is, his ability to close games down the stretch for us, even when we don't necessarily need him to. There's been a lot of times where I'm like, damn, this game is getting close, and then it changes, right? You feel the game sort of shift, and now Shea's taking over, and now Jay Will, we got Jay Will taking over too. So there's different sort of modes that this team plays in, which I love to see. And I think his ability to mesh into those different molds and be able to provide different roles to this team on a night to night basis is really what shores up his MVP voting for me. I think this man has continued to get better the last 3 seasons, but this season particularly, between his efficiency and what we've been able to accomplish as a team, I think my guy deserves it, and I'm sticking by it. God damn it!
Yeah, I mean, I think getting the 1 seed definitely helps his case. He has improved mostly throughout his entire. He did better last year from scoring percent, like scoring points, for Shea than this year, only by a slight amount. But I think that has to do with a lot with Chet coming back. I think with Chet, y'all guys are scary, um, because he's such a good defensive weapon for y'all. But I think Shea definitely has a strong case for MVP.
Yes, sir. And then obviously the name that we didn't pick, but ultimately is there, the elephant in the room, or you could say the horse in the room. Obviously, Nikola Jokic, the big name that we none of us selected here. I think both of us. I'll speak for myself here, but I think if Jokic ends up winning MVP, you honestly can't be mad. The kind of year that he has had, on top of the last 3 years, really, like obviously coming off of that NBA Finals uh, winning effort last season, and then to be able to double it up this year, still be performing at such a high level individually, and then obviously keep your team as the second seed throughout the year. Just a great spot to be in. And then obviously you could argue this is statistically his best year compared to even other MVP years, right? So uh, obviously there's a huge case there for Jokic as well. I tend to think you'd agree with me, right? Jokic is this is a three-headed MVP race if there ever was one.
I mean, yeah, I definitely think it's a three-person MVP race between the three of them. I think it's a lot closer than what people think it should be. I do think Jokic will win the actual MVP, but I think they should really look into our two guys to see who wins it. But we don't have a vote, so not much we can do.
Yeah, we got to make sure we give out our votes, right? We got to make sure our
Exactly.
votes get out there. But yeah, definitely legitimate case. I wouldn't be mad if any of these three guys win the MVP. In my opinion, I think they all have a solid case. But with that being said, let's move on to our next award. We have Defensive Player of the Year. So I will be starting out for this one. I think this one was honestly relatively easy compared to the rest. I'm going Bear. I'm going with my guy from Minnesota, Rudy, young Rudy. He did it again. Oh Lord. Um, if Minnesota didn't figure it out the way they did this year, I was fully roasting them and their acquisition of Rudy Gobert, right? Like that was my focus this season. I was like, yeah, if they definitely don't make it, they're getting roasted because they did so much and gotten so little from it. But this year, everything really aligned for them well between Ant really stepping into that next level of superstardom, on top of obviously the defense being gelled together by this man and being held together by the French Tower up front. So I know Rudy Gobert gets a lot of shit, sometimes rightfully so, right, for the things that he probably doesn't do on the court. But I think ultimately this year he's definitely made the case for himself once again. Right, this is not his first rodeo getting this award, so kind of feels like you're penciling him in every year at this point. Once you're figuring out who to give the award to, but I think this one really sticks out amongst even the other years where he actually did win it, as far as him being truly deserving. So I feel comfortable giving my Defensive Player of the Year to Rudy Gobert. What about you, Logic?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Rudy, and I like how. And I think the best way to put it is how Wemby put it, because I know people are like, it's either Wemby or you Gobert, but Wemby said in an interview that he can have this one, the next ones are mine. And I feel like that's a good way to view it, right? Sort of a passing of the torch or the baton, if you will,
hmm
from
So
one freshman to the next.
the only other like team that I even thought of remotely including, or someone to include in this, would be the Celtics, but I just couldn't figure out who that person would be, like of the Celtics, because defensively what they're able to accomplish is remarkable. but I can't really pick out that one guy. So that's why I think Rudy still stood the test of time for me.
I mean, you can't. I mean, that's why people were like, "Well, Wemby's really good. He's leading the league in blocks and stuff." But as for the Celtics, it's like I don't. Maybe I saw a lot of people were like, "Oh, Derek White improved on defense." I'm like, so, but it's not like it's not the same impact. Like without Rudy Gobert, the Wolves were like eighth in defense last year or something like that. So to go like from eighth to first is just huge for them.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, there's not that marquee name, so it's pretty easy. Next up, we've got our sixth man of the year award. Logic, you're up first this time. Who is your sixth
Oh,
man?
I gotta go with the Kentucky connection man of Malik Monk. Him and De'Aaron Fox are playing just like they did it in Kentucky, way back in college for them. He looks great. He looks better. I'm so glad they have him coming off the bench and leading that unit. I don't see how anyone else gets it really over him. So
Yeah, great shout. I was playing around for a little bit. I'm like, hey, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and then I'm like, yeah, let's just be honest here. It's
yeah,
definitely Malik Monk. Was honestly a little surprised to see him go to the second unit after the year he had last year, but like you said, fit into that role beautifully and really does provide that instant offense, which we've come to know to be from that position. So shout out to Malik Monk doing the damn thing for Sacramento, even though they're a low-level playoff team. I mean, play-in team. I didn't expect that coming into the year, if you'd asked me. But I think it speaks to the depth and the level of the West once again. But we'll get into that a little bit later. As far as coach of the year now, things are getting fun. It's my turn again. And this one, I genuinely am gonna say to you, Logic, if you pick anyone
okay.
else, I'm gonna be annoyed because I am going with Thunder coach Mark Daganall. I think nobody expected us to be where we ended up at the end of the season, and I think nobody deserves more respect for that than obviously our head man. I think he's one of the most unheralded coaches in the NBA. Period. But I think ultimately what he's been able to do with setting different lineups for our crew, with different rotations of guys gelling together despite not necessarily playing the same amount of minutes together on the court per every game. Like there's just so many different layers to why I feel like Mark Dagnall is that guy. But most importantly, man, just on a night in and night out basis, I didn't feel at any point last year like I do this year as far as us being able to cover anyone, us being able to be in any game, even if we're down by X amount of points early, for us to be able to come back. Um, I have true confidence in this team in all of those scenarios this year for the first time in what feels like a very long time. And it kind of came out of nowhere, right? Like I last year a lot of my confidence was like irrational, right? Like as far as my excitement about the Thunder and where they're going to be. Kind of feels surreal to watch it all sort of fit together this year, especially to get this high end level of achievements. But give me Mark Daganall for Coach of the Year. How you feeling about that?
I respect it. I can I do I think he'll probably win the actual one, but for me it's got to be Jamal Mosley with the Magic. I mean they're the fifth seed out in the West, I believe. Huge improvement. They weren't even in the playoffs last year, and to take that team and those players, and they don't only have a guy.
Yes, they
Like
do. Paolo is their
he
guy.
ain't there yet. He ain't there yet. He ain't
Yes,
there
he
yet.
is. Yes, he is.
Right. No, he's not quite, not quite. Next year though, next year. I
No,
think
this
that
this
that level
was
of
the year.
improvement. Man, I'm just saying, bro. Like he'll be a superstar in the league. Right now, he's a starter. You know what I mean? They don't got a superstar. Like they got
Mhm.
a name, they don't got a name. And to take that team from what they were last year, they only won 34 games last year. And I'm just like that's a huge improvement to go from third worst in the East to fifth best in the East. You know,
Yep. Yeah,
And I think they're not talking about it enough, bro.
I agree with you. I think that's a good shout as far as it not being spoken about. But shit, one sounds a lot better than five to me. I don't know. I don't know about you, but one
Hey,
sounds a lot
hey,
better
hey,
than
hey.
five.
Lottery team to not lottery team also sounds
Yeah.
pretty good to me. I'm just saying, bro.
Yep. 100%.
There's a debate there. There's a debate there. I think
Yep.
both of them should have a good mention for it though.
Yeah. Great shout. Thank you for mentioning them. Next up, we've got rookie of the year. This time you get to lead the dance. Logic. I think this one's
I
pretty simple though.
it's Wemby. It's Wemby. It's Wemby. There's no this you can't deny it. It's Wemby. I'm sorry that you have to eat a humble pie here, but it's Wemby.
No, there's no argument from me. I agree with you 100%. It is Wemby. I thought early on in the year I was talking a lot of shit. I'm like, watch, Chet is going to be the the rookie of the year. And for like a couple weeks I had it. Like I felt it, I tasted it. And then I realized that I was just fucking wrong, man. Wemby is the truth on all levels. We already knew this, right? But to see him come into his own really the last sort of 3 months of the season and really show his upper bound limits in the NBA. I think he's obviously going to be a franchise player every year that he's in the NBA. But to see the kind of potential that he's been flashing, especially most recently, uh, it's impossible for someone like him to meet or reach the hype. But as far as like what's been coming out on the court, man, you got to say this guy's living up to expectations, even if they're not winning just yet. Just what he's able to do, man. The guy is literally an alien out there for a reason. So
Right, right. And I think he's in the perfect environment. He's got the perfect coach that knows how to coach players his size, and with kind of with his skill set with Pop, Spurs definitely know how to treat the European big men to show them the ropes. And I feel like a lot of what we're seeing with the Spurs right now is kind of like a what if scenario when Tim Duncan was drafted. Like if they didn't have David Robinson, I feel like it would be kind of a similar thing. If that makes sense.
hmm.
So I
Yep,
think
like
it's
the
definitely going to be
rebuild.
good for them.
That's a good shout. I didn't even think about that as far as those parallel universes and what could have been versus what we're getting now. How long do you think we're going to be in rebuild hell with San Antonio?
I don't think that long, to be honest. I think they need to go get a guard out of the draft, maybe, and then keep developing Wemby and putting pieces around a young core with Wemby and like one of the guards out of the draft. I think would be a perfect fit for them. Which would be Caleb Love if he announces his ideas of going into the draft.
Yep.
Which I think he would be a perfect fit for them with how he plays.
Yep, great shout. Got to get this young talent going for as long as it's available. Cause shit, I know once you're in that spot, it feels like you're there for forever until you're not. So, got to get out as quick as possible from that lottery. But I don't know. I'm tending to feel like he might be in the lottery for a couple more years, just because everything around him just looks so bad. With all due respect, but
Yeah,
we'll
I
see.
feel like it's going to be 2 years. I would say 2 3 years. 2 3 years. Give it 2 3 years,
For
and then
sure.
they'll probably be in the playoffs.
Yes, sir. Next up, most improved player of the year. This one was also a doozy for me. And this one solidifies it. Like, fuck it. We're going Homer this year, right? Like, you generally, I try really hard to not be a Homer. It's Jalen Williams. And if you haven't been watching this team play, that's okay. You won't understand if you haven't been watching. But for people like me, goddamn, this guy is good. And not only is he good, he fucking knows it, right? Like there's a big difference between someone who's a superstar that isn't really there yet in their own mind versus someone who takes that cat by the scruff of the neck. This guy, there's stretches of games, not just one, many games that I can think of that J Will just said, "All right, it's my go." And just took the whole team and put it on his back on offense and on defense. He's that kind of a game changer for us. And I honestly feel like if he was on any other team besides my Thunder, he'll be getting so much love for his improvements this season specifically. But it's okay. We can be the underdog and still be the first seed. It's possible. But I say all this to say, J Dub, keep doing your damn thing because this was certainly a most improved season. And next season, if you're not an All Star, I'll be absolutely shocked and appalled. How you feeling about that, Logic?
I think it's a good shout, but I think it's got to be Kobe White with the Bulls. This man, just to put into context, his numbers have jumped rather dramatically. I would feel like, if I recall, I'm trying to pull up right now. So he averaged last season. He averaged 9 points a game, if I'm looking at this correctly, and now he's averaging near 20. So he's jumped about double the amount of points per game. Coming off the bench, right? He's not starting in Chicago with who they got, and his improvement's been huge for them. He's definitely, I would say, a big reason why they've made the play in. They could make the playoff as an 8 seed, I think, but I don't think the. I mean, it's not likely. But I think he could. He's definitely should be the favorite for his level of improvement. It's definitely out of nowhere for him, and I'm glad he's improved. So for them as well. So
I know a lot of Bulls fans who hate it though because they're like, "Hey, we're trying to be bad," and honestly, being in that 10th seed range for 2 years in a row is honestly a terrible place to be because once again you're getting the playoff level first round pick while not getting the actual full playoff experience. So,
exactly.
yeah, you got to either bottom out or find your way into contention, man. And I don't see either of those things happening anytime soon for the middle of the
Well, the
pack
fans may
Chicago.
hate it. The players want that playoff run.
Hmm.
They don't. They won't care what the fans want. They want what they want for
That
the
is
most
true.
part.
And
For the
hey,
most
we'll
part.
see. We're gonna give our play-in predictions later. Let's see if any of them are picking them against the Hawks. But next up, we have a very fun award because this one took me forever to fucking get my team, but I'm forcing you to go first with this one, Logic. We have our NBA first teams. We're only giving first teams, goddamn it, nothing else, because it'll be way too time consuming to go back with three all NBA teams. But why don't we start with your center?
Jokic, easy. Well,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm gonna say Jokic. I'm gonna say Jokic. He's been healthy because
yeah.
Embiid's not eligible.
Yep. My center is also Jokic. This one's pretty self-explanatory. I think, like you said, Embiid was in this conversation, but unfortunately, he gets ruled out. And then I think someone else that you've been mentioning to me all year that should be in this conversation as well is Sabonis. But it's just unfortunate with the competition you have, right? You can't
Yeah.
really justify putting them in that one spot. All right, we got our forwards next up. Who's your first forward?
It's gonna be Giannis for me. Easy, easy choice.
Easy. I got
I
Giannis as
believe he's
well.
eligible. I
He
believe.
should
I'm
be.
pretty
Yeah,
sure.
he should be. I got Giannis as well with my power forward spot, and then with my small forward, I'm going with Jason Tatum. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Tatum, but though I think LeBron could also sneak in there depending on the vote count. But it's gonna be. I think for me, it's Tatum.
Great shout. I think if LeBron gets in, that'll be a very obvious name play, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think
exactly,
I think
exactly, exactly.
Tatum
But
deserves
I,
that
I
spot.
didn't realize. Did you know he averaged the most minutes this year?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's
Every
crazy.
year, they gotta stop relying on him so much, in my
Exactly,
opinion, because
exactly,
he don't get me wrong, he's so good, but the more that they can get that production elsewhere, the
exactly.
better
It's
off they'll
better for them.
be exactly as things go into the thick of it because then when you
Otherwise,
actually need them,
otherwise,
you could call on
exactly,
that number confidently.
exactly. Otherwise, they're gonna be like with Kobe, just stuck in hell after he retired.
Exactly, and just waiting to figure out what the hell's going to happen next. We've got two guards left. Logic, why don't you let us know who are your guards for your NBA first team to wrap it up?
It's Luca and Shea. Luca and Shea, easy.
Yes, sir. We got the same exact team, man. I think this is the team, right? You can't fuck this up, in my opinion. You can't go anywhere else. I thought for a little bit about having a traditional point guard, but then I'm like, there's nobody that fits this mold. Like we got to go with two shooting guards. Sorry, guys.
I mean, is basically a point guard, shooting guard hybrid.
No, he's not.
Because
But
he's
it's
got
okay.
he's got the ball. He's got the passing ability of a point guard.
Yes, he does. I mean, you could argue the same about Shea, right, to a lesser degree, but
Yeah, but
um,
1 second in assist, one isn't. So
yeah,
you
I
know.
didn't try to make that argument, but yes, yes. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Next up, we've got our under the radar MVP, and I'm glad that I get to go first for this one because I kind of had fun with this one. Right, this award was a little um, out of left field to say the least. I tried to make it with the idea of being able to highlight some people who just aren't getting enough shine based on what they've been able to accomplish this year, and for me, that person is the bald mamba, Derek White, someone that you mentioned earlier, as far as having a standout season. I think obviously off defensively, what he brings to the Celtics is always what gets accounted for. But I think offensively, people slept on him this year and what he's been able to add from being a more consistent 3-point shooter to also being able to handle the ball a little bit better and facilitate for this team. I really like what he's been able to accomplish this year as that second sort of floor general role behind Drew, and honestly doing a really good job with that team, just being able to make things slow down a little bit, whether on offense or on defense, and guard your opponent's best player while being still an offensive presence for you. Like that is a lot to ask of one guy, and Derek White makes it look good. God damn it! So that is my under the radar MVP.
Yeah, mine's Sabonis. The things he was able to do with the Kings. He had 61 consecutive double doubles. Your Thunder put a stop to that, but in case y'all don't know, that's 10 away from tying Wilt's record. He had 71 and is by far the most since the merger of the ABA NBA. So, and the fact that nobody was talking about him, kind of a little disrespect there, but I get it. He's not a name, like a big name anymore, like he was with the Pacers. But I feel like he's definitely a big glue guy for those Kings, and without him, they wouldn't be in the play-in even.
Mm-hmm. Great shout, yeah, and I wonder what makes that the case because he still is the comparable role to what he was when he was on Indiana, but I guess just him not being their number one guy makes it harder to look at him as
Right.
a number one guy. I don't know what that is,
I
but I
also feel
agree. I think he
like
deserves
a
that
lot of
spot too.
people in the West compare him to like a Jokic at home, but when people don't realize he's been in the league longer than Jokic, and he's been doing this his entire career in the NBA.
Great shout. Jokic at home is hilarious though, because I could see that for sure. Um, Next up, we've got two awards left. I can't believe they have dwindled down this fast. Next
Oh, and
up,
I do
we've
want to
got
say he actually led the league in triple doubles this year. Sabonis.
really. I didn't know that. That's cool to note. Thank you for that. Look at Logic dropping gems today, baby. Next up, we've got our worst performer of the year. This one I was so excited to talk to you about because I was like, yo, not only do I know immediately who I'm picking for this award, but I just love this idea of an award in general, right? Because we're always highlighting all the good, but god damn it, there's been a lot of fucking bad. So I think it's only right that we get right into this. Who is your worst performer of the year, Logic?
Okay. I'm gonna cheese it a little bit here because the worst performing player is by far Jordan Poole for that overpaid contract. Good lord, what a mistake! I knew this was a mistake. I said it day one of that contract. I'm like, you idiots, you overpaid Washington. The inconsistency is gonna show the first week, and it showed. But the worst performers as a team is the Pistons. Oh my god, I can't. The Pistons are gonna make me lose my mind, bro. If I had to rant about the Pistons, like that, they need to be relegated, bro. Get them out. Go to the G League. Go to the G League.
That would be cool, right? If we had a relegation system in the NBA, you could argue at this point in time there was never a
Like, if,
better
yeah,
time as far
exactly,
as
exactly.
having the
I
ability
feel
to
so
do that. But
bad.
it's just so much money to be lost out on that I think they're not willing to ever
That's
make that work.
Detroit, bro. They can come back when they got somebody. Like they
The
can
Little
still be in the
Caesars
draft and
Arena.
whatnot. Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah,
no
when Little
disrespect to the Pistons
Caesars.
fans or anything, but they brought in Monty Williams from the Suns on that huge contract too. They signed Bojan from the Jazz and a bunch of other guys, and then they just don't have a leader in that locker room to help with them, and all their
Yeah.
talents being wasted.
Yep, they're spending a lot of money to go do absolutely nothing, and will probably be a top three pick next year if their luck serves them well. Um, I'm glad that you went the way you went because obviously I'm going with Jordan Poole, right? This has to be the worst performer of the year. Just god damn it, the lowlights, all the videos of the what is that song? The montages that they start. It's like, honey, I see you looking at me. And he's there, I'm
Yeah,
ready. And then he starts making buckets because the women are there. There
exactly,
wasn't enough women in the world, right, to change this
exactly,
man's performances this
exactly,
year. Just
exactly,
absolute terrible
exactly.
from pillar to post for Washington. Washington was talking shit about the Pistons, about how the Pistons were on that long-term losing streak. Yeah, well, you guys ended up with the worst record in the fucking league. So
Actually,
how
no.
much
The
can you
Wizards
talk?
had one more. Wizards had one more win. They won one more game than the
Wow.
Pistons.
Hey, would you look at that? But there was a time where they were like 3 games
They were
behind.
fighting for
So
that. I swear they were fighting on the tank off, bro.
yeah, the
They had
tank
to
off.
be. They had to be.
Literally the tank off. Our final award of the year before we get into our play-in predictions and overall um, playoff predictions, which I'm most excited for, to be honest. Let's do our game of the year, man. I was really excited about this. It took me a lot to narrow it down. And honestly, I was surprised how much, to give you guys some fucking props, how much your team was involved in like my top five. They were in three of my top five games.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
shout out
Exactly.
to Dallas. They make it close. Goddamn. I mean, they lost two of
Hey,
them. Don't talk too much
hey,
shit.
hey, hey, hey.
But
We're the best clutch team. We're the best clutch team this season,
mhm.
record
So
wise. Just so
with
you know.
with all that being said, I just assume that your game of the year includes your Mavericks. But let's go. Why don't you let us know?
Oh, oh, oh. You go first. You go first. You go first. You go first.
Oh, okay. I honestly
I'll let you
wanted
go
you to
first.
go first because I'm almost positive that it's going to be the same exact game as you. My
And
game
that's
of the year took place on March 17th. It was the Nuggets at the Mavericks in a game that was just an absolute barn burner, right? From pillar to post. Just I mean, as the fucking SWAT team is escorting someone out of their house, most likely. God damn! I hope you guys aren't hearing this as much as I have made it obvious. God, golly. But on March 17th, yeah, this was just an awesome fucking game, back and forth. Obviously, with ending it the way that it ended on the last second. Just an
on the
awesome game. It's hard to pack all those narratives into one game, and the fact that it had literally everything, including the late game heroics.
from both
Got to give
sides.
you my
From
game of
both
the year.
sides.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that has to be up there. I mean, that's definitely that was my game of the year for. I think it's still. It might be because I am conflicted because they're both Mavs games. Don't get me wrong, but they're a little different. So my favorite regulation game is the Mavs Nuggets game. The Southpaw finisher, like as the call said, on with Kyrie and the iconic. This should be a meme, bro. When he did this, it should be a meme. I don't know how it's not a meme, bro. But it all that game, that the heroics from both sides, Jamal Murray hitting that three, saved a little too much time. The Luca off the inbound wide open for some reason, had that defensive collapse from the Nuggets, and then the miss from there on the other end, and then the inbound pass, the beautiful work, the questionable calls, obviously. That I didn't agree with, obviously, as a Mavs fan on Kleba. Um, Still questionable, and the not shooting foul and Luca on the three, still questionable. But it's whatever. But I have to say my best overtime game. The best overtime game is the Houston Rockets and the Dallas Mavericks in Dallas. That game, I legit thought we had lost that game. I wasn't able to watch it because of how the sports networks youth broadcasting games. I don't have that channel, but I was following on ESPN. I'm like, oh, this 90% free throw shooter for the Houston Rockets. What's his name? I don't remember. Can't remember his name right now. But he was at the line for like to ice it, and we were down
Shengun?
three.
Who are you talking about?
No, no, it was I don't remember his name. It
Van
wasn't
Fleet?
weird. No, it was No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't a white guy. I'm gonna put it that way. I can't. I can't. I can't. I'm trying to remember his name. I have to pull up the roster. Hang on.
You're good. You're
Ah, I
good.
feel so bad. Well, it's probably because I'm a Rangers fan. We don't deal with Houston, bro, in any capacity. It's just a fact. Let me pull it up. Let
Yeah,
me actually
forget
make
the
sure.
Rockets, dude. I
Exactly.
honestly, I would low key rooting for the
Jabari Smith
Rockets to
Jr.
make a
That's who it
run.
was.
Ah, okay, got you.
Yeah, he missed two. He missed two free throws back to back to ice the game up three. We had no timeouts. Exum had just gotten hit in the head on the previous possession, by the way, on trying to draw a charge, and he got called for the block, which is why the two free throws happened. And then he gets the ball, he gives it to Luca, and then Luca gives it back. He shoots the wide open three. Everybody in the arena knew it was good from the call, and it was just beautiful. And then the overtime game, somebody on the Mavs ended up bleeding in the knees. It was like all the effort was out there for that comeback, and that's what you like to see. And everybody ended up showing up for the clutch for that one. So,
Great
but
shouts. I
if I'm
love that
going
you had an
non
OT game too.
exactly, but if I had to go non biased game, Warriors Lakers double overtime.
Yeah, that was my number two. I was literally about to say it too. Because yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even feel bad about these games on your list because even though obviously the homer element is there, they're valid as far as being in consideration for these top three potential games of the year. And I agree that Warriors Lakers game was the other one that I was pointed to. I was like, yeah, you know what, this might deserve it. But honestly, I still don't know how you're not throwing in that Nuggets Mavs game because that was
No, that's
one
my
of my
best
favorite games
regulation
to
game,
watch.
bro. That's
Yeah,
my best regulation. It didn't go to overtime.
it didn't go to overtime. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So regulation Nuggets Mavs.
Yeah.
Overtime is the Mavs Rockets. Non Mavs game it's easily got to be the double OT. Lakers Warriors.
Yes, sir. I love it. And with all that, all of our awards are finally finished. So it brings us to talking about the play in and our predictions. So we already have the full lineup, right? For this sort of seating and the way everything is all laid out as far as this little mini tournament we've got. So let's start off with the most consequential games. Obviously, we have the six, no, the seven and the eighth seeds. So whoever wins these matchups automatically is on to the next round of the playoffs as the seventh seed. The first of those two matchups are the Pelicans versus the Lakers. Logic, please break down for me this head to head matchup. We've got only one game to determine who's the better team, who gets the seventh seed.
I think it's going to be the Pelicans, strictly because AD did get banged up in the last game of the season. So I think based on that, it's got to be the Pelicans because without AD, the Lakers are completely different. Their defense is completely dependent on Hachimura and Vanderbilt. I think's there. I could
Herb
be wrong.
Jones as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, for the Lakers. I mean, because AD is not AD. If he's gonna be playing hurt regardless. He's gonna be playing unless he's got a broken leg, but he's not. So he's gonna be in the game. But he's gonna be his injury with his back is gonna be a thing to watch for sure. If he's 80%, I say the Lakers can win it, but I think it's gonna be too much of a difference for the Pelicans and how much they've improved overall.
Yeah.
So
Great shout. Honestly, I this one was hard for me. Like I feel like I definitely lean both ways. I am gonna go with the Lakers, even though I hate it. I just feel like the LeBron factor is a very real thing. Although I do admit I really like this late season version of the Pelicans. I feel like they've been figuring some things out specifically with how to get Zion going in the mid range, which definitely can change a lot of things for this team. But I think ultimately, just obviously the pressure of dealing with the king is ultimately why I'm picking the Lakers. But honestly, I could see it going either way. So I like your answer there. On the other side of the 7-8 matchup, we've got the 76ers going up against the Miami Heat. The the team that made it all the way to the finals last year, god damn it, in the same exact spot again. So it's funny, but I'm gonna have you lead the dance once again. Why not, Logic? Take us home. How do you feel about this Eastern 7-8 matchup?
I feel like this is too easy. I feel like Embiid's playing, the Sixers are winning. So I mean, it's just that easy. It's just that easy. I mean, they
I
had the
agree.
best record in the league when he was healthy before he got hurt. So
Yep. And hey, I hate that there's a new video every time he plays for the
oh
last
my
three
gosh.
days. There's a new video of, oh my God, was that the injury that did it? And it's like, man, when it's still this frequent at this point, it's literally like fucking glass bones and paper skin. But uh
Hey,
the,
people were saying the same thing about AD. Just
yep.
saying. Some people
And
still do.
rightfully so. Rightfully so, to be
Exactly,
honest.
exactly.
But yeah, we're both going with the Sixers here. It's the only thing that makes sense. Nothing about the Heat makes sense ever, right? And then we're
Except
saying
their
all this shit
defense.
now.
Except their
We're saying
defense is
all this shit
consistent.
now, and then they're 2 weeks from now, they're still gonna be here
Exactly.
somehow. But next up, it's only right that we finish off our episode going with the 9 and the 10 seeds. We've got Kings Warriors as the most consequential play-in game, I think ever. Can we argue ever?
I would have to look at the other ones, but I think so. It's possible.
Like this
It's
is the
possible.
deepest 10 team roster I think we've ever seen since we started the play-in
The play
tournament as
in,
far as having 10 solid teams in the West and the fact that one of these teams are automatically out after one game. This is high stakes stuff right here.
yeah, for sure. I think it might be the deepest that West has ever been. If you think
Mhm.
about it, for sure. Yeah, I think all of these were 40-win teams, at least 40, close to that. So 45.
Mhm.
So I think it's definitely the deepest the West has ever been.
Certainly. Certainly. Well, we've got to do it. So I'll start it off. This is another one that I've gone back and forth on. It's very hard reputations wise and giving how I picked the other ones to go the way I'm going. Um, but fuck it, give me the Kings. I just feel like they're the better team and they ultimately should be in the position to win this. I mean, we got this whole series last year, right? Which was awesome, by the way. Um, and I think given how that went, obviously when people are like, "Oh, then why the fuck won't
Facts.
you go with the Warriors?" I get it. I just feel like there has been regression since then, and obviously, all things considered, I was this close to just saying, "Hey, the other team got Steph Curry. I'm picking the Warriors." But there's just so much wrong with this Warriors team at the moment that still hasn't really been sorted out. That makes me feel like Sacramento's ripe to dethrone them. How you feeling about this one, Logic?
Right, I feel like this is going to be a lot closer than I think maybe people are thinking, because I know I have a lot of friends who are like, oh, Warriors are going to win this. They got Steph, they got Clay. I'm like, yeah, but they also have the biggest wild card in the NBA, the man who always gets ejected somehow, and that's Draymond Green. If he keeps his mouth shut and sticks to basketball, they'll probably win. Like that, he's the glue guy for them on defense. He is their defense, but they don't really have a big man as far as I know that's like able to deal with Sabonis and Murray. Shout out to Keegan Murray, by the way. He's
Mhm.
greatly improved too. So I think the Kings got it. I think they're a lot better overall as a team as well. I think they have more depth. They have a lot better. I think they're sorry to say this, Steve, but the Kings are better coached. I feel like this year that a lot of people have noticed. Um, so I think the Kings will win it just because of that, and also they want that revenge.
So that's 100% spot on. They need that revenge. It's not just want; they need it.
They
And hell,
crave it,
honestly,
bro.
yeah, literally, that's what made the difference for me here. I'm like, we got a younger team that is hungrier too. Like, I just can't imagine the
Facts,
Warriors coming
facts.
out on top of this one. But hey, we might look real stupid in a couple days, but that's fine. On the Eastern side of things, we've got the Bulls going up against the Hawks. This one might be the easiest question I've asked you all night. Who you got, Logic?
I don't think it's that. I don't think this one's that easy though. I don't think you
Really?
can say it's. Yeah. I think these teams match up actually pretty well, size wise, and the way they play. Like, I think it's going to come down to Atlanta's defense showing up. Which, by the way, the defense isn't bad. Just because Luca put 73 on them does not make them bad. Okay, they actually threw everything in the kitchen sink at Luca. They won't have to do that against the
No,
Bulls.
they're bad,
Uh,
bro.
I'm not saying they're good. I'm not saying they're good, but they're not
Okay, okay.
terrible. They have guys. They
They're
still
not
shoot
the
the ball.
Pacers out there, but they're still bad. Trust me.
The Pacers are bad. Yeah, like the Pacers lead the league in offensive, but their defense got to be dead last. Like the
Yeah.
Pacers still pretty bad, but they're not terrible. But the Hawks, they're not terrible. They're not top 20 in defense, but the Bulls aren't top 20 either.
Yeah.
Let's be real here. I think what's going to set it apart though is DeMar DeRozan. If the Hawks can somehow contain DeRozan just a little bit more than what they've been able to, I think they can win it. But I think it's going to be too much for them. I think the Bulls will in fact win this game.
Wow, you're going with the Bulls. I'm going with the Hawks. I
Oh,
just feel like
oh,
the
oh! I
Hawks
love
have
to hear
so much
this.
more to play for. The Hawks have so much more to play for, and then obviously the key, right? The biggest key. You got the best guy out there. If you lose with the best guy out there, it's a damn shame, right? It's just a damn shame. Um, and honestly, I love me some DeRozan. I love me the Bulls and what they have to offer, but I think even they don't believe that they deserve a spot in the playoffs. And I firmly will
Well,
put my heart. I put my heart out there and saying if the Hawks lose this, honestly, I'll be very surprised.
I will say this. I think the Hawks have been a little too inconsistent specifically with Trey Young and DeJounte Murray on the court together for it
Hmm.
to work. And I think the Bulls and Zach LaVine especially are hungry for that playoff chance because they haven't made the playoffs in years and for a while. I don't think with Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine wants that playoffs, bro. He wants that. And I think the Bulls are playing this next game to keep Zach LaVine. I think if the Bulls lose this game, Zach LaVine leaves 100%. Like
Yep. And then
there's
you're
not even
left
a chance he stays.
with the ball brother that has no knees. You
Exactly.
got
Exactly.
problems. You
Sadly.
got problems,
Sadly.
Chicago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel for him too. It's hard. It's hard not to make him the butt of all the jokes, but shit is crazy. But now that we have finished our play-in escapades, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, right? Let's get down to the way too early NBA Finals preview, right? Let's just imagine for ourselves here that we have arrived at the finals. Who are those two teams for you, Logic?
I hate you making me go voice on this because I'm gonna sound like an idiot. Um, I actually have to look at the bracket for this because I don't know how this is gonna shape up most of the time with the play-in. But if my play-in is right, I think that the Mavs can make it. I think the Mavs can make it realistically. No, hear me, and I will explain. Okay, I will explain how, and it's all going to be post trade deadline talk on my end. Um, and I, but if they, but non-biased aside, if I'm not going to be biased even a little bit, I think it's either going to be you or the Nuggets, and then I think it's going to be the Celtics. Although the Celtics' biggest threat is actually the Bucks because the Celtics' biggest deficits in a game have come against the Bucks.
Hmm. Love that you brought that up, and I hope that that's a matchup that we get because the last couple years the Bucks have just been getting bounced, so we haven't been able to see that.
Right.
I need that this playoffs for sure. Um, I love that you gave your answer like that. I'm not gonna be going with my team either, so it's okay. Um, I honestly think, and this is just me being a real Debbie Downer here. But give me the Nuggets and give me the Bucks. I think that the Celtics, although the best team up to this point, I think that the Bucks still haven't quite figured it out the way we thought they could. And I think if they're able to pull that off during this final playoff stretch, they might be a fucking champion. To be honest, I
Right.
think there's a lot that needs to be figured out for them to get there. But I just can't feel confident in the Celtics. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to see it. But even this playoffs, I just don't feel confident that they have what it takes to really make that second push. Especially after the way last year ended up. But I
Right,
definitely
right,
had a whole lot of bad taste in my mouth with that Heat Celtics series for sure.
right. But I honestly think if the Sixers end up getting the seventh seed, I think the Sixers could also be a team to look at least making it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Hmm. Yep, that's a great shout, especially if Embiid is once again at his
Healthy,
power and
exactly.
doing the right thing. Yeah,
If
there's a lot of
Embiid's doing
different
his
ways
thing,
where I could see some lower seeds. I could see the Knicks making a deep run. I could
the
see
Knicks are
the
the lower seed. They're the two seed. Look,
I know, but they're the Knicks. Okay,
yeah, they are the Knicks.
they still
And
need to
in
be
that scenario, they'd be playing the Sixers or the Heat, by the way.
exactly. They're gonna
But
have a
I think
hard
that
road.
they'll lose in seven to the Knicks. I mean to the Sixers. I think they'll lose in seven to the Sixers, but they'll beat the Heat in six.
Yeah. I'm sorry, dude. There's only three teams that I could see honestly making a push, and it's Nuggets, Thunder, Timberwolves in that order. Um, but who knows? Yeah,
Here.
I got arguably at the peak of their powers, the two best players on the same team. You could argue that.
All right. Okay. So let me explain. I will argue this. So we have some demons to oust in the first round with the Clippers. Okay,
Hmm.
but I feel like we can beat them. We're gonna beat them in six. I'm calling it right now. We're gonna beat the Clippers in six at home.
Look at that.
Okay, easy call of my life. I don't trust Kawhi to play the entire series. He ain't ever played an entire series since the finals when he was with the Raptors. I'm just saying, he's questionable. I don't trust Harden in the playoffs. Valid. We all know why.
Yep.
Let's look at his history. I don't trust Westbrook in the finals either. Again, the history's there, right?
Hey, that's
West,
bullshit. That's bullshit.
hey. He hasn't been to the finals since he was with the Thunder. He hasn't been back since. He hasn't made the Western Conference Finals since. Okay. The last time Harden was there, he was with the Rockets, I believe, against the Warriors with Chris Paul as his
Yep.
running mate. And I actually think the Rockets should have won that series, but it's neither here nor there. And then how we look, and I think y'all will easily win whoever you play against. By the way, I will be shocked if you lose. I'm praying y'all don't lose for the trash talk to commence between us. Even though you said you've never talked trash to me again because you always get fucking proven wrong.
Yeah,
Uh,
literally. Something
man,
tragically wrong happens just at
every
at
time,
the thought
every
of
time you
me
talk trash to me.
having the nerve to say something to you. Yeah.
Exactly, it's divine intervention, bro. I tell you. But the way we play against you with PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, and if Derek Lively's healthy, I think that series is going seven. I think it's going 7 or 6 easily.
Delusional, but I love it.
No, it's not delusional, bro. It's not. It's not. Like we blew y'all out the first game we had with them, and then the next game we didn't have Luka, and y'all barely beat us. Yeah, you can't
I'll
say
give you
that's
this,
not
but all games are not created equal. You know this as well.
exactly. But
Mhm.
playoff Luka is a different demon, bro.
I'll
I'm
give you
just
that.
you gotta give me that, bro. Like him and Kyrie in the playoffs, you don't want to mess with them in the playoffs.
Yep. Especially
I
now
think
that
we
it
have the
seems
two
that
best playoff players on our team.
yep. And you guys have an identity as far as how you actually want to use them too. So that all helps you
Exactly.
guys out. But yeah, realistically, not probably gonna see the Mavs in the finals, but that's okay.
I
I
think
think there's
I
a
don't. I'm not saying. I'm saying we have a chance. We have
yeah,
a
yeah, for
decent
sure.
chance,
Shit.
depending on
Hey,
how it
the
goes.
fucking Lakers have a chance as well. The Pelicans, the Kings, and the Warriors also have a chance too. But
No,
do
they
we
don't.
think that they're gonna make
No,
it?
because they're going to lose in the first round. It doesn't matter, because of who they have to play potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
But I
There's
actually
gonna be
think that
upsets though.
it
There's
could be
always
y'all.
are.
I think y'all have a decent chance to make a run. But if I had to
Honestly,
pick,
I don't. I feel the opposite. I feel
I think it depends.
genuinely
I feel
pretty
like
convinced that the only
I
way
think
that we could make it is if the Timberwolves knock off the Nuggets. Like I genuinely think I would that would have to happen, and then we'd have to play the
right,
Timberwolves.
right.
Like that's the only thing that really makes sense, in
I
my
feel like
opinion, for us
though,
to get there.
honestly, I think people are blowing the. I think the Nuggets chances aren't that insane, to be honest. Depending on who they play in the first round, because because they don't tend to do the Nuggets don't tend to do well on long series after long series, right? So I mean, look at the bubble, right? Like they had to go like 7 games, 6 games, 7 games, and then losing in that I think game 7 against the Lakers. I think it went to 7. And if they have to play the Lakers in the first round potentially, I don't like that matchup for them to be honest. With the rematch there, LeBron wants that wants his get back. He always does, bro.
for that sweep.
He'll do anything. He'll do anything for that get back. And that's just the truth, bro. History shows that with him, he is a man who desires nothing but revenge when it comes to losing in big games.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we've given you our finals teams. Now it's only right that we give you our 2024 NBA champions. And for me, I'm going with the Nuggets back to back. The dynasty is official. What about you, brother?
I mean, I'm in order to not look delusional, I'm gonna say the Nuggets. I'm gonna say the Nuggets. I think Jokic is Jokic and Murray make a nasty duo, and MPJ's just insane for them. The level if he didn't have the improvement though, it'd be a different question for sure.
Hmm. All great shouts. Awesome to have you on again, Logic. This was a great episode, action packed from the beginning to the end, filled with a whole lot of nuggets. So make sure, once again, that you're following him on YouTube at Illogical Gaming with 2 L's at the end, God damn it, so you can get all of his Siege and other miscellaneous content.
Right, right.
Make sure you're following him there. Also, make sure to follow the brand at OTS Media Co. on all social media platforms. OTS Media on YouTube. And just like that, another episode of the Sideline Guys is finished. Thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Please just remember for next time, no matter what happens out there, just declare eligibility for the draft. Because guess what? Once you're eligible, then no one cares if you don't deserve a spot, right, Bronny? We'll see you guys next week. Peace.